Hey everybody, my name is Sir Israel Azariah King, and so we're here to talk about sexual purity and just brotherhood and where like my journey of like pursuing sexual purity has like kind of where it started and where it ended up. So here's the thing. I'm born and raised South City, St. Louis, and before I met Marshita, before I met my wife, um, I was living in a project like not too far from where we live now, and we were I was maybe 5 or 6 years old, and this was the first time I had ever been exposed to uh, sexual um, sexual activity. And I was with my older brother, and we were going over his friend's house. His friend had an older sister named Erica. She was well known in the neighborhood, if you know what I mean. Um, I didn't know Erica. I didn't know of her either. I didn't know of her reputation. So I was totally ignorant to it all. And so we're in their apartment. They're playing the Sega Genesis, the Mortal Kombat, and we're sitting on her bed. It's a bunk bed in the room, and at some point, my older brother and his friends they leave out, and she pulls me under the covers. She asked me if I wanted to have sex. This is the first time I'm ever hearing the word, first time I'm ever um, being introduced to what it actually consists of. And and after that, um, my brother walked in on us. My brother, her brother, they caught us, and instead of being reprimanded or stopped or anything of the sort, um, he cheered me on. Um, and in this, particular part of my life, in this particular area, as soon as a guy has his first experience with a girl, he's considered a man, right? And he's considered the man or whatnot. And so a lot of guys who are who haven't had that experience yet, or who are looking to have that experience, who are still virgins maybe, they look to be the man, or someone that everyone else can be proud of, someone that everyone else can look at and smile and be like, that look of affirmation that men tend to give each other when they've given their bodies to someone, and after they've conquered woman after woman after woman. And so a lot of guys, if they're not involved in that particular lifestyle, they'll either get teased at or laughed at, or being called gay or whatnot, and their manhood is questioned. And so such behavior can propel men into a string of choices, or to a string of actions that can cause them to make very rash and negligent decisions. So, long story short, I had my first experience, my first taste of sex, and I know that people don't tend to count your childhood experiences as your first time, but um, it was still the first time I was ever introduced to it. So that made the pursuit of sexual purity, when I was introduced to such an idea, a very tough concept for me, right? Because by the time that I had accepted Christ, by the time I met the guys that would soon become my god brothers, that would soon become a brotherhood for me, I had been sexually active, And even in that particular brotherhood, like when it came to sex, or when it came to masturbation, or when it came to like porn, like we indulged in watching and looking at porn together. We had conversations where, I was told, if you didn't masturbate, you weren't a real man or whatnot. And even though that was a godly brotherhood, like we were teenagers, we were kids, we were still learning, we were still growing, but we did not have any men at our church to walk with us, to actually tell us like, hey, you're valuable, like, or hey, you don't necessarily have to lose yourself in other women, or sow your royal oats, so to say. And so, growing up in the church that we were at, we were discipled by women, basically. And it wasn't until I ended up meeting some more guys that would become a bigger part of my brotherhood. I met a guy who ended up discipling me named Jonathan, and Jonathan was, I was dating someone at the time at my church, at my current church that I'm at now, and I was talking about how, she had value and everything, because she and we were pursuing purity as well. We were saving ourselves for marriage as well. And he looked at me and he said, "You have value too." And this is the first time that the concept of me as a man, or me personally having value, was introduced to me, because I thought, oh, women were the prize, or women were the ones or women were the important ones in a relationship. Women deserve to be happy, or women deserve to be made happy. And every time I turned around, or everywhere I looked, men cater to women, or they cater to their women, or if they wanted to, or if anybody wanted to be in a relationship, it was a man that had to pursue the woman and do all of these things to either make her happy or to impress her, and things like that. And it kind of, growing up in a society that doesn't necessarily tell men that we're valuable, but they kind of show favoritism toward men in a way that can be oppressive to women. And so we have, and then that kind of brings up a rise in feminism, to where women are being poured into and being told that they are the bride. And so the dynamic between men and women tends to clash. And so what I wanted to say is that the pursuit in sexual purity has never been easy. It will never be easy, especially after you've had a taste of it. And so by the time I had met Marshita, my body count had been in a place where I'm too ashamed to mention. It had reached a point where by the time I had, finished, counting, I was just like, I started like kind of like a little had a self-condemnation moment. Where I'm like, dude, you're such a hoe. Like which is not true. Doesn't necessarily matter how many people I have been with, or how many people I have had, sexual intercourse with. The fact of the matter is, God saw me as someone that is still valuable, someone that was worth dying for. And so by the time I met my wife, I was already on a path of pursuing sexual purity, and so was she. She had also cut ties with anyone she had ever been in that particular space with. And as for me, I wasn't necessarily I hadn't necessarily cut ties. I hadn't necessarily gotten to a point where